I call the Honourable the Prime Minister.
A dramatic step by the Australian government, immediately closing its borders to anybody wanting a visa to travel to the country from key Ebola-affected areas.
These measures include, Madam Speaker, temporarily suspending our immigration program, including our humanitarian program, from EBV-affected countries, and this means we are not processing any application from these affected countries.
Even permanent visa holders will have to spend 21 days in quarantine before they're allowed in. The new rules come after 11 people who'd travelled from West Africa were put in isolation in Australia. None so far has tested positive for Ebola. The decision sparked sharp criticism, the Australian Green Party describing it as shameful and cruel. Banning refugees from fleeing West Africa, says Greens immigration spokeswoman Sarah Hanson-Young, is like shuttering up the window while a house burns down.
The government is taking very serious steps.
Prime Minister Tony Abbott says his priority is to protect Australians at home, but his policy on Ebola is already drawing fire.
The President of the Australian Medical Association has described the government's response to the Ebola crisis as a shambles.
Mr Abbott says the government is taking very serious steps to deal with the virus. But the Australian Medical Association says both it and the country's chief medical officer are, quote, in the dark about what plans the government has. The Abbott government was asked a month ago by key allies, the US and the UK, to send medical experts to West Africa. The US is sending about 4,000 military personnel, while Britain is sending about 750. But Australia is not sending anyone yet. The government says it's still looking at evacuation plans for workers who may contract the disease. It has provided nearly $15 million to the UN, but Mr Abbott sees his front line in this fight squarely at home. Andrew Stevens, CNN, Hong Kong.